Hi, I'm Josh Tucker, president of AI Edward. In this video series, we'll be talking to thought leaders, practitioners, and providers of AI products and services so that you can better understand the changing landscape of education as it integrates and reacts to the impact of AI. I'm excited and honored to be joined today by Dr. Kai-ming Cheng. Dr. Cheng is Emeritus Professor at the University of Hong Kong and Director of the Education Policy Unit at the Faculty of Education. Notably, Dr. Cheng was a member of the Hong Kong Education Commission and was instrumental in the comprehensive reform effort, which started in 1999, that shifted the focus of education in Hong Kong toward critical thinking and other 21st century skills. As we look for frameworks for understanding AI's impact on education, a good place to start would be to look for how top performers and thinkers are framing the issues. We would look to one of the world's highest performing education systems, which Hong Kong is among. We would then want to speak to one of the minds that led its reforms, which would lead us to Dr. Cheng.
Welcome, Josh. Thank you very much.
Dr. Cheng, as I understand it, the reform efforts that you were part of in Hong Kong at the turn of the century were not simply aiming to improve education, but were aiming to align education with changes in society and the economy. A quarter century later, many are now focused on how AI is changing society and how education must react to it. You seem to frame the relationship differently. You see changes in society taking place outside of AI and view AI as a tool for education to better align their work with these societal changes. Can you please start by discussing some of these societal and economic changes and how current education systems may be misaligned to help students succeed in these modern societies?
Let me share with you a story, very small story. Three young people, under 30. I knew them from different places. They didn't knew each other. In the same week in 2023, they said, "This is my last day." Meaning, I said, "Well, you're changing jobs?" "No." "Are you not happy?" "No, I'm happy and grateful." Are you suffering from no job satisfaction?" He said, "No, all my projects are very famous." "So why?" He said, "I've been in the job for so long." It's one lady, one man, one lady. They have been in that job for 2.5 years, 3 years, 2.5 years. And I turned to the statistics of the Bureau of Labor Statistics in the US, 2021. Among the millennials, 91% have said the tenure of a job is 3 years. 91%.
Wow.
And 86% of them said that, why should one stay in only one career? You see? So this is their thinking. Student thinking are changing very quickly. And when people of older age heard that story, they would say, "Oh, wow," they laugh. They say, this is ridiculous. These young people don't know what they are doing. But when I'm facing an audience of young people, they nodded. They are masters of their own life. So it's different way of
Different
looking at life.
expectation. Certainly.
And I would say, wow, we who work in universities do not enjoy that liberty, right? You can't pause. You pause, you fail. When you're assistant professor, look for associate professor, and so on and so forth, right? If you pause, you have dropped out of the system. And it is one certificate, one skills, and you sail smoothly forever. And you try to work in one job forever or one career forever. If you are successful in education, you'll be successful in life, which is no longer true. It's not that their thinking has changed. Society has changed. Now, let me quickly describe what I noticed has changed. People's consumer behaviors have changed, right? Production of materials have changed. The production is no longer for needs. It's for creating desire for purchase. Notion of mass production which is the source, the origin of industrial society, has changed. They are talking about, in the literature, they call it less of more, less quantity, more variety. And that is very true. So the kind of economy of scales is no longer the major concern. And because of that, because mass production is no longer there are still mass production, for example, computer chips, mass production, but they are all run by machines now. The kind of a human pyramid has disappeared. And organizations have become smaller, flatter, and more fragile. They may disappear not because of failure, but because of transformation. Think of it. When our graduates are facing small organizations, they are facing a totally different ecology of employment. Long-term contracts are very rare now. Even governments are dishing out many, many short-term contracts. When you are in a short-term contract, the commitment of the employer to the employees is very weak. And therefore, you can't talk about a lot of loyalty for the employees towards their employers. That's why they have a very totally different view about employment. The ecology, the whole notion of employment, whole notion of economic ecology has changed. And therefore, school lives are quite opposite to what society expects. I always say that the ultimate aim of education is for students' future. But we don't know their future at all. They know their future much better than us. They
Right,
feel it.
and this is all before AI even enters the discussion. So we
Yes,
already
and
have a
therefore,
changing economy, changing
absolutely.
employment, changing employee expectations, and we have a very static education system that's still working on the old paradigm. Is that right?
Yes, yes. And therefore, what I, as an educator, my thinking is that how can we liberate the students from the kind of a very closed, very pressing situation. And this is, I think that this is a call of the time for all educators. But unfortunately, I'm very lonely on this, because you go to schools and they say, yes, I know, but examination is still there. And we face examination, particularly in our parts of the culture, China, Japan, Korea, Vietnam. We all had the heritage of the civil examination, the imperial civil examination in the past.
Mhm.
So examination is so important. And people
Sure.
spend so much time in facing examination is nonetheless only only a symbol. But people are working for symbols now.
As we
Yeah.
turn to AI and what role it can play in addressing these issues, um, I believe you posit that it can be a huge change agent in how we approach this, but not necessarily so. And you were very kind to share your short paper, The Multifaceted Applications of AI in Education, which our viewers can find in the resource section on aiedward.org. You discussed 12 levels of adoption. And it seems like the earlier ones may not get us to where we want to be. Can you talk about those early stages, which I think are taking up most of the attention of educators right now,
Yeah,
are these initial levels as you lay them out? Can you talk a little bit about which levels are
okay.
being implemented
Yeah.
and how they do
Maybe
or don't
yeah.
align?
Yes, I will not repeat the levels because it takes so long and people begin to sleep when I say. But fundamentally, what attracted educators is what attracts other professions: efficiency,
Hmm.
right? And teachers do use it to increase their efficiency. collecting materials, preparation of a lesson plan, constructing your PPT, PowerPoint, and setting exam papers, correcting exam papers. You don't know how many apps are there in China on correcting papers. This, I won't say is bad. It increases teachers' efficiency, save their time, and it saves teachers' time to have more person-to-person interaction with students. And all teachers appreciate that. And also efficiency in terms of school administration. And nobody now will write a parent's letter by hand, right? You just use AI. However, in this aspect, there is a danger of preserving what are traditional and habitual and may not be good for education. For example, marking. All language teachers understand that improvement of writing is not by correcting, it's by writing and writing. Writing based on reading, writing on your lives, rather than giving you a particular topic to write. This is quite common in our parts of the world. And therefore, if correction is so easy, and teachers will take over for granted, doesn't matter. You give it to students and they'll do it, and you do it by machine marking. Of course, the students may use machine writing. Anyway, so that will preserve something that needs reform, is now hidden beneath the carpet.
Sure.
And
So it's almost a crutch that's getting us a little bit further along the way. It's improving the current system of education, the traditional, I think you refer to them as the traditional pedagogical paradigms.
yes,
But it's not
and so,
it's not a shift in almost the purpose of education that is addressing the shift in the economy and
yeah,
the society. In the second half of your levels, you talk about students becoming masters of their own learning, returning learning to students, shifting AI
yes,
from a tool for educators to a tool for students to learn. Can you talk a little bit about
yeah,
those and maybe
yes.
perhaps give some examples of what those aspects are?
The good practices that I appreciate is my slogan is they try to give learning back to students. So it becomes my slogan, return learning to students, so that they are not arranged what to learn. They are not passive about it. They don't have a room to think of what they want to learn or what they are doing. And in that aspect, AI is very useful because AI is individual. AI is just like a mobile phone, internet. Everybody can have access, and it's a learning tool. And the best practices are, for example, now I'll give you some examples of best practice. The easiest, and I think it is practiced by many teachers, is for any learning unit, the end point of the learning unit is not done by paper, pencil, paper, pen exams, but by creating some generative, constructive, visible products. For example, by producing a picture book, by producing a poem, a poster, a cartoon, and so on and so forth. And that is very interesting. That is a process that students have to digest what they've learned, rethink what can be done, and then produce something. Of course, they might only be attracted by the interest, the fun, but it's not a problem. The whole notion is not testing what they know, but testing what they can do. It's a very good experience of human-machine interaction. And that
Tell me
is
more
so
about that. Like,
important.
as you talk about these alternative forms of assessment, talk to me about the role of AI in it. Is AI
Oh,
supporting the student in producing this work, or is AI a tool
oh,
for evaluating that work,
yes,
or
yes,
both?
yes. I can quote you two examples, very interesting. The simple example is uh, every student of a class visits a rural village. It's a Hakka village, it's a particular ethnic group. And then they came back with picture books. Each group of students produce a picture book, and you see the whole library. There's a whole particular desk with all their picture books, rather thick picture books.
Hmm.
But one interesting example is primary five teacher who uh, did a course about 3 weeks about AI, and then asked students to tell me what you think. What is your summary about these 3 weeks? And you can produce either a poem, a letter, a poster, a song, or a drama, right? And I
Hmm.
saw one student actually uh, gave his own views to AI, and AI produced a poem. And then he turned the poem by AI into a rap, right? It's interesting. But for the
Yeah.
starting point is that he has his own ideas. Another teacher is just doing an essay. And then now please ask AI to reproduce your written article into a picture. And then tell me whether this picture represents what you think. The teacher, the student did it and said, no, this is not what I want. So it means your prompting is wrong. So tell the machine to do what you want. So after 3 times, it came up with something with the essays about future, like future world. And she said, yeah, this is what I want. So it really is a thick learning process.
Hmm.
It's not only writing an essay and thinking for and waiting for teachers to give you marks. His concern is, what do you want to present? If the AI misunderstands you, either you have given the wrong information or AI has misunderstood you and so on and so forth. But the better cases are uh, still on essay writing. This is most commonly used. Naturally, students will go to AI for marking. So the AI will give comments and suggestions. My basic motto is don't take AI as another authority. It's not an authority. But teachers are very clever. They say, first of all, the easiest is please debate with the AI. Do you agree with these comments? Even if you agree with the comments, do you agree with the suggestions? Some teachers say, yeah, you interact with the AI, and then please screenshot the interactions, and then I'll let the whole class to discuss. Oh, that is such a rich discussion because people have different ways of looking at it, and the classroom becomes very noisy, very enthusiastic. One teacher did it further. He gave the students just any essay from one of the students. Could you please to mark it as you were a teacher?
Hmm.
So they came up with all kinds of suggestions, and they display it on the screen. Eventually, they come up with some consensus. And teacher said, this consensus is not very different from my own rubric. But then there are divisions of views. And the teacher said, let it stay. So let us use this consensus and divisions and mark the essay of the whole class and see what happens. So that's another level of discussion. It's just one essay. Otherwise, teacher will mark overnight, say 30 students, and then students will only look at the marks, full stop. Now the whole class is discussing and discussing and discussing and discussing. This is how they think.
Sure. And learning
Education
takes
basically,
place in a community, which is also a
yeah,
great
it's a
part of it.
three-dimensional learning and
Yeah.
so on. Just to give you some examples. I think uh, there's a lot of mileage in this direction. And of course, the further ones are teachers making themselves a chatbot, so that students are allowed uh, to to interact with a chatbot. So the teacher will become many teachers, right? One teacher created a chatbot. She's by the name Chen, and she is called Auntie Chen. The chatbot is called Auntie Chen. And very few cases, but very good cases, students make their own chatbots.
Wow.
It's basically, now I must say that examinations, marking, and so on for I said it's taken for granted. You can't struggle with the system. The system takes time to change.
Yes.
Even a very powerful government cannot change a culture. But can you not, out of this, take it for granted? Beyond that, create some space. No matter how small is the space, it will be so precious for students.
Dr. Chung, thank you for your time,
Thank you
for the
very much.
resources you've shared, and for your insights on AI and education. I'd like to remind our viewers that Dr. Chung's paper and this video will be available in the resource section on aiedward.org. Thank you for attending and for learning alongside us.
Thank you very much. I'll send you more articles. Even if they are in Chinese, you can use AI to translate it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.